Kings FM 88.5, just for you. From the latest news to your favorite tunes, we've got your back morning, night, and afternoon. Join our family, connect with your crew. Kings FM 88.5, just for you.
Good morning from Royal Communications Incorporated. Welcome to King's News Broom for the 5 minutes of news about Liberia, Africa, and the rest of our world. Today is Friday, January 30, 2026. My name is Cornelius Johnson, presenting first the headlines. Aslamenta Liberia's State Mineral Development Agreement amendment ratified. Liberian Senate concurs with the House of Representatives days after President Joseph Boakai opened appeal. More public condemnations mount over tears State of the Nation address across Liberia as Broom County Senator Edwin Snow calls for a comprehensive breakdown of government's 70,000 job creation, writes Senate to sack Labor Minister Kupokra. Government of Liberia breaks grounds for the construction of the Ministry of Justice complex up Capitol Hill. Justice Minister Oswald Tuer says US 20 million already secure for the project, but Maghidi County Senator Nathaniel McGill demands accountability and question the source of funding. Away from Liberia, sustained heavy gunfire and loud explosions have been heard in Niger near the international airport outside the capital, Niamey. And passengers flights between Ethiopia capitals Addis Ababa and cities in the northern Tigray region have been cancelled amid fears of a return of conflict, with reports of clashes in one area. The news bulletin voices of the newsmakers are all packaged in this edition of the program. We take a very short break to be right back. Many thanks for being there. Up next is the Bulletin of News with Kwame Brown.
The Liberian Senate has concurred with the House of Representatives to ratify the Third Amendment of Asala Liberia's Mineral Development Agreement. The Senate concurrence with the House of Representatives came days after President Joseph Boakai issued an open appeal for the ratifications of the MDA. There are reports that the president's appeal to the Liberian follow a high-level diplomatic talks in neighboring Guinea between special delegations of the Liberian government led by President Joseph Boakai, Nicholas Checker, U.S. State Department Senior Bureau officials for African Affairs, and U.S. Charge d'Affaires Mary Dashby. The decision was reached following a joint report from the House's Committee on Mines, Investment, and Judiciary, which reviewed the proposed amendment and recommended its approval. Meanwhile, Nimba County Senator Nya Di Twain, a long-time critic of the Asala Liberia Mineral Development Agreement, has detested the Third Amendment. He noted that his decision to abstain from the Senate vote was driven by the company's long record of non-compliance, not opposition to the investment. Senator Twain argued that ArcelorMittal Liberia has repeatedly failed to meet key social obligations to the affected communities, particularly in Nimba County, and warned that new commitment cannot erase years of unmet promises. According to him, trust must be rebuilt through performance, not assurances, revealing that sustained pressures from his office forced the Inter-Ministerial Concessions Committee and ArcelorMittal to contest. That's correct serious weakness in the amendment, including the omissions of name accounted from social obligations provisions. Criticism continued to mount over President Joseph Boakai's Trusted of the Nations address delivered on Monday, that's January 26, 2026. In 4 days, the tsunami has generated total condemnations across the country. There are more citizens, including civil society organizations, political parties, and politicians criticizing and deter Sona as compared to the 2025 and 2024 Sonas. The sharp condemnations are mounting over what critics consider the 81-year president's deceptions of improving key sectors and creating 70,000 jobs in 2025. During the Sunan, Buakai highlighted stabilized economy, improvement of agriculture, education, health, tourism, rule of law, and claimed the country is currently in a better state than it was in previous years, assertions many have challenged. Several civil society organizations, political parties, including former ruling Party Coalition for Democratic Change, Alternative National Congress, Citizens for Movement, the Citizens Movement for Change, Liberia Alternative People's Party, among many others, believe the president's claims of 70,000 job creation, steady growth, decline inflation, stronger reserves, and macroeconomic stability and private sector growth lack real-time data. Bomi County Senator and head of Liberian delegation to the ECOWAS Parliament, that's Edwin Snow, has written in the Senate calling for the appearance of Minister of Labor Kopo Kra to provide comprehensive breakdown of President Joseph Boakai recently announced 70,000 jobs creation in 2025. Speaking during Thursday's session, Senator Snow acknowledged the president's employment claim that about emphasizing the need for transparency and effective legislative oversight. According to him, the labor minister's appearance before the Senate would help clarify the distinction between short-term and long-term employment, as many as identify positive. He added that further details regarding the nature, duration, and sectorial distributions of the jobs are essential to properly assess the initiative's impact on livelihoods and national economic growth. The government of Liberia has officially broken ground for the constructions of the modern Ministry of Justice complex at the ground of the Capitol building. According to the government, the project is intended to enhance public institutional capacity and improve service delivery across Liberia's justice and security sectors. Speaking Thursday at the groundbreaking ceremony, President Joseph Boakai said the initiative will save the government billions of dollars annually spent on rented facilities. He emphasized that investing in permanent state institutions would reinforce Liberia's sovereignty, strengthen the authorities of the state, and contribute to national infrastructure development. The 81-year-old president further emphasized his administration's commitment to providing full support to ensure the timely completion of the project. He also disclosed plans of upgrade other public facilities, including transforming the Omega market constructed during the CDC administration into a standardized market structure. Meanwhile, Mike County Senator Nathaniel McGill has expressed deep concerns about the government's U.S. $20 million Ministries of Justice complex construction. Senator McGill, who Facebook page Thursday acknowledged witnessing the groundbreaking of the Ministries of Justice complex by the president and stated that as important as the initiative is, more cardinal to who is funding the project. According to Maggie Senator, if the project is being funded by the government, there should be clear information indicating when the US 20 million approved, including information about contractor approved. He also questioned the whereabouts of the project design, further inquiring whether the executive has chosen to do the groundbreaking before the approval of the building budget and design. McGill noted, is the project being implemented with 100% grant or donor funding that does not require legislative approval, stating that his concern is derived from two controversial projects. He named the procurement of the 285 earth-moving yellow machines and the US 10 million FOIA project as projects with questionable source of financing and boycotted legislative approval. The independence of the Liberian National Bar Association has come under growing scrutiny following the decisions of its president, Councillor Bona Vama, to simultaneously hold a senior government position while remaining head of the country's foremost legal professional body. Councillor Vama, recently serving as chairperson of the Liberian Reforms Commission, a statutory government institution tasked with reviewing the proposing reforms of Liberia's legal framework, also occupies the office of the president of the Liberian National Bar Association, an organization widely regarded as an independent civil society institution and a critical watchdog on issues of the rule of law, constitutionalism, and human rights. The situation has sparked disagreement among legal petitioners and civil society organizations who think the Councillor Vama dual role places the LNBA in a position of potential conflict of interest, political influence, and undermines the credibility as an independent advocate capable of holding government accountable. The Bar Association has played a central role in challenging abuses of power, defending constitutional principles, and speaking out against violations of legal and human rights by the state. The Law Reforms Commission operates within the executive branch of government, and its chairperson functions under government policy direction. Observers argue that occupying such a position while leading the LNBA creates both actual and perceived conflicts of interest, especially when a legal reforms, constitutional interpretations, or government conduct become subject of public debate. Center for Media Studies and Peace Building in Liberia Executive Director Malcolm Joseph has confirmed Liberia's commitment to transparency, accountability, and democratic governance, emphasizing the critical role of access to public information in empowering citizens and strengthening state institutions. Speaking at a high-level stakeholders dialogue on access to public information in Liberia, Joseph described the passage of the Freedom of Information Act in 2010 as a historic milestone for the country's commitment to democracy and good governance. He further highlighted the establishment of the Independent Information Commission as a major step toward that's institutionalizing transparency, and accountability. Joseph noted that despite the gains, there is still significant challenges persist in the effective implementations of the FOL, that's FOI law, which include inconsistencies across legal and policy instruments, weak interinstitutional coordination, limited compliance by public institutions, and low public awareness of information rights and obligations. Also speaking, European Union Ambassador to Liberia's Donald Gisbert has reaffirmed the EU's strong commitment to promoting transparency, accountability, and democratic participation through improved access to public information in Liberia. The political leader of the Liberian National Union, Dr. Clarence Moniba, has outlined that the truth test of government performance lies not in speeches but in the national budget. Responding to President Joseph Boakai's third State of the Nation address, Moniba argued that while the speech sounded positive, the 2026 budget fails to reflect real progress for ordinary Liberians. He questioned claims of 70,000 jobs, noting that it lacked transparency and offered no path to permanent employment. Moniba, who also dismissed claims of economic improvement, noting that despite lowered inflation figures, Liberians continue to struggle with high food prices, rent, and transportation costs. He further criticized what he called poor spending priorities in the $1.2 billion 2026 national budget, pointing to low allocations for that's public colleges and vocational institutions compared to millions set aside for top officials, that's political offices. He describes such decision as evidence that the budget favor political comfort over public need. He warned that Liberia's future depends on investing in human capital, especially with nearly 75% of the population under the age 80, that's 35, that Moniba said without a swift toward education, skills development, and private setup growth, no speech will translate into progress, stressing that Liberia is too rich for Liberians to be this poor. Finance and Development Planning Minister Augustine Yamfuan has blasted Liberians for criticizing the government's performance and President Joseph Boakai's announced improvement of the Liberian economy during his third State of the Nation address. And during a media engagement in Monrovia Wednesday, Minister Yamfuan, who bragged of the government 1.2 billion national budget for 2026, ridiculously said, "Should we buy physical bread and butter and share it with citizens before you are convinced that the government is addressing the bread and butter issues?" In a more provoking remarks, the finance minister further noted that one of his considerations for this year would be to ask the president to create a ministry of bread and butter to directly purchase bread and butter for citizens on a daily basis. Commenting on the government focus on infrastructure rather than immediate livelihood needs, Minister Yamfon said the opposition is only after criticizing the ban on unrealistic expectations. On Liberian National Tourism Authority announced an immediate halt to the pageant and pageantry related activities across the country. In a press statement Thursday, the government institution noted that no individual shall represent Liberia as a queen or title holder of any platform about that's without prior written approval of the NTA and full compliance with internationally recognized standards governing pageantry, cordial representation, branding, safeguarding, and ethical conduct.
Many thanks to Kwame Brown for the news bulletin. The news bulletin is a regular feature on King's Newsroom. Indeed, if you just join us, a reminder you're listening to King's Newsroom for the 5 minutes of news about Liberia, Africa, and the rest of our one world. Today is Friday, January 30, 2026. One of our top stories: more public condemnations man over tear state of the nation address across Liberia. As Bombing County Senator Edwin Snow calls for a comprehensive breakdown of government 70,000 job creation, writes Senate to cite Labor Minister Kupo Kra. Let's now bring you voices of the newsmakers. Today's first development: Nimba County Senator Nyan D. Twine, a longtime critic of the Asla Mental Liberia Mineral Development Agreement has detested the Third Amendment. He noted that his decision to abstain from the Senate vote was driven by the company's long record of non-compliance, not opposition to investment. Senator Twine argued that ArcelorMittal Liberia has repeatedly failed to meet key social obligations to affected communities, particularly in Nimba County, and warned that new commitments cannot erase years of unmet promises. Here now is Nimba County Senator Nyan T. Twine.
ArcelorMittal Liberia has a documented record of non-compliance with key obligations under the existing MDA, particularly with respect to social commitments to affected communities. That history cannot be ignored simply because new assurances are offered. Abstention in this context was a deliberate position of caution and accountability to send a clear message to ArcelorMittal that we are serious for full implementation of all clauses and commitments in the agreement. During discussion following passage of the amendment by the House of Representatives, sustained advocacy from my office and other colleagues produced tangible outcomes in the interest of the people of Liberia, especially the people of Nimba. Through this process, the Interministerial Committee on Concession and ArcelorMittal agreed to correct several omissions and weaknesses in the proposed amendment. These include social benefit commitments, such as the pavement of the Sekimpa to Yikipa Road, improvements and upgrade to roads within the concession area, construction and maintenance of bridges, and enhanced investment in clinics and schools within the affected communities. Our advocacy from day one of taking office also compelled renegotiation by the government to gain financial terms within the agreement. These efforts resulted in a $200 million signature fee, an increase in annual money lesson from 50,000 flat fee to 500,000 United States dollars per annum, an increased social development contribution to the 3 counties from $3 million to $5 million annually. These are not symbolic gains. They are material improvements secured through persistent scrutiny and our policy advocacy. Further, we insisted on the proper consolidation and restatement of the existing MDA and the Third Amendment, including the insertion of clear termination and revision clauses, provisions that will have allowed automatic extension of the concession after 25 years were removed and replaced with language subjecting any renewal to legislative ratification.
His Nimba County Senator Nyan D. Twine, there speaking yesterday at his Capitol Building office in Monrovia. Still at the legislature, Broom County Senator and head of Liberian delegation to the ECOWAS Parliament, Edwin Snow, has written the Senate calling for the appearance of Minister of Labor Kupo Kra to provide comprehensive breakdown of President Joseph Boakai recently announced 70,000 jobs creation in 2025. Speaking Thursday during Senate session, Senator Snow acknowledged the president's employment claim, but emphasized the need for transparency and effective legislative oversight. According to him, the labor minister's appearance before the Senate will help clarify the distinction between short-term and long-term employment, as well as identify the segments of the population that have benefited from the initiative. Here now is Broom County Senator Edwin Snow.
This communication is only asking the Ministry of of Labor, to come here and give us a breakdown of the 70,000 jobs. So let the Minister of Labor come and tell us the 70,000 jobs we created in 2025. Here is the breakdown of the 20,000 jobs, of 70,000 jobs. It's, however, important to note that a few days ago, the Ministry of Information called a press conference and told the world that some of the data in the president's address was wrong. Yes, he said it. So this Senate or this legislature must have the courage, the spirit, and the balls to call on the president to either resubmit his report to this legislature. Right now, the spirit. Already, the official platform of the government has informed us that the president report to the legislature was based on falsehood, that the information in there was wrong. So, Jala man, can you share me to my job? I mean, the poor nobody informed me if I he's like a sharing squad, man. He's like you can't do that job, man. Oh, you want to check it out? No, you got 15 more seconds. No problem, he's just sharing my 15 seconds. Please put that in speaker. So, Mr. Presiding, the document in our archive in the depository of this legislature delivered by the president is based on falsehood. That document must either be represented or the president must write up based on the information for the Ministry of Information that the president gave us the wrong information and sent us the correct information for our archive.
Broom County Senator Edwin Snow, head of Liberian delegation to the ECOWAS, they're speaking in session on yesterday. Today's development now, the government of Liberia has officially broken grounds for the construction of a modern Ministry of Justice complex at the grounds of the Capitol building. According to the government, the project is intended to enhance public institutional capacity and improve service delivery across Liberia's justice and security sectors. Speaking Thursday at the groundbreaking ceremony, President Joseph Boakai said the initiative will save the government millions of dollars annually spent on rented facilities. He emphasized that investing in permanent state institutions will reinforce Liberia's sovereignty, strengthen the authority of the state, and contribute to national infrastructural development.
It's the present moment for us to build a building that will represent our country, a public building in which offices will be structured for the purpose, where records can be kept. Minister will find the convenience of, because when you take a rented building, you're trying to make it what you want. But when you build a building, you build it according to the purpose of the building. And so record keeping and everything, people work in convenient environment, they work better. So we're very happy that this is happening today. So we're going to do with many others. We already planned even the Omega market. We're going to transform it to be what it's supposed to be what it's supposed to be, so that the whole red light there will be decongested. So I want to say to our technical people and the minister, thanks for the idea. And we are willing to support ideas that put our country on the map positively. We have always been respected for who we are, and we will continue to seek that leadership as a country that is the oldest republic. And these are the things that represent us. We're going to have a building that's going to be good, going to be very, very practical in terms of the purpose, and we're going to be convenient. And I'm sure the Minister of Finance has guaranteed the funding. And this is why it's necessary that our resources are protected. A lot of resources been leaking out of this country, benefiting other people. We say we own the country, but all the houses owned by people. We got to rent from the people. All the good cars are from people. Then what do you own? We have to make Liberia for Liberians to enjoy Liberia.
Also speaking at the ceremony, Justice Minister Councillor Oswald Toye described the project as a historic milestone for Liberia's justice and security sectors. He revealed that US $20 million has been secured for the construction of the justice complex, adding that it underscores the government's commitment to long-term infrastructure investment aimed at improving public service delivery.
Today is indeed a historic and very defining moment for the Ministry of Justice and for the Republic of Liberia, as we break ground for a permanent home, a complex that will stand as a symbol of institutional strength, national security, and our collective commitment to the rule of law. What we are doing here today is a commencement of the physical manifestation of a vision long overdue, and one that recognizes that strong institutions require strong foundations. The complex will bring together all the critical institutions of our security sector, excluding the Liberian National Police, into under one coordinated framework. These agencies are the front line of protecting our borders, safeguarding lives and property, and combating illicit activities that threaten public safety and national stability. Housing them in a modern purpose-built facility will significantly enhance coordination, efficiency, professionalism, and service delivery to the Liberian people. It will also, in the long term, save the government money in rental payment, as has been said. Mr. President, we are deeply honored by your presence. Your leadership continues to affirm that justice, security, and governance remain central to Liberia's development agenda. Mr. President, your presence here today sends a powerful signal that infrastructure for justice matters, that the rule of law is non-negotiable, and that institutions must be empowered to serve with dignity, competence, and integrity. This project is firmly aligned with the government's arrest agenda for inclusive development, which serves as Liberia's national development framework. The arrest agenda prioritizes agricultural rules, rule of law, education, sanitation. The government has demonstrated its commitment by placing $20 million United States dollars towards this project in the arrest agenda.
His Justice Minister, Councillor Oswetwe, earlier you listened to President Joseph Boakai at the groundbreaking ceremony of the Justice Complex at the grounds of the Capitol building. Indeed, if you just joined us, a reminder, you are in tune to King's News Broom, 45 minutes of news about Liberia, Africa, and the rest of our one world. Today's Friday, January 30, 2026. My name is Cornelius Johnson, presenting our top stories. ArcelorMittal Liberia State Mineral Development Agreement Amendment ratified. Liberian Senate concurs with House of Representatives days after President Joseph Boakai opened appeal. More public condemnations mount over State of the Nation address across Liberia as Broom County Senator Edwin Snow calls for a comprehensive breakdown of government's 70,000 job creation, writes Senate to sack Labor Minister Cooper Crab. Government of Liberia breaks grounds for the construction of the Ministry of Justice complex up Capitol Hill. Justice Minister Oswetwe says US $20 million already secured for the project, but Magidi County Senator Nathaniel McGill demands accountability and question the source of funding. Away from home, sustained heavy gunfire and loud explosions have been heard in Niger, near the international airport outside the capital, Niamey. And passengers' flights between Ethiopia's capital, Addis Ababa, and cities in the northern Tigray region have been cancelled amid fears of a return to conflict with reports of clashes in one area. We take a very short break. When we come back, we'll bring you more developments on the program. Thanks a lot for being there and welcome back. Today's development now, Center for Media Studies and Peace Building in Liberia. Executive Director Malcolm Joseph has confirmed Liberia's commitment to transparency, accountability, and democratic governance, emphasizing the critical role of access to public information in empowering citizens and strengthening state institutions. Speaking at a high level, stakeholder dialogue on access to public information in Liberia, Joseph described the passage of the Freedom of Information Act in 2010 as a historic milestone for the country's commitment to democracy and good governance. He further highlighted the establishment of the Independent Information Commission as a major step towards institutionalizing transparency and accountability. Joseph noted that despite the gains, there is still significant challenges persisting in the effective implementation of the FOI law, which includes inconsistencies across legal and policy instruments, weak internal institutional coordination, limited compliance by public institutions, and low public awareness of information rights and obligations.
In Liberia, the passage of the Freedom of Information Act in 2010 and the establishment of the Independent Information Commission mark significant milestones towards promoting open governance and empowering citizens to participate meaningfully in public affairs. Despite these advancements, persistent challenges remain in the effective implementation of the Liberia Freedom of Information Law. These challenges include inconsistencies across legal and policy instruments, weak inter-institutional coordination, limited compliance by public institutions, capacity gaps, and low public awareness of information rights and obligations. As a result, civil society actors, journalists, and citizens often encounter barriers when seeking timely, accurate, and complete public information. Addressing these gaps is essential to strengthening democratic institutions, combating corruption, enhancing service delivery, and building public trust in government. It is against this backdrop that the Center for Media Studies and Peace Building, in collaboration with the Independent Information Commission, is convening this high-level stakeholder dialogue on access to public information in Liberia. This dialogue is being held under the theme under the Liberia Media Empowerment Project that is being implemented by Internews with funding support from the European Union.
Also speaking, European Union Ambassador to Liberia, Nona Deprez, has reaffirmed the EU's strong commitment to promoting transparency, accountability, and democratic participation through improved access to public information in Liberia. The dialogue brought together senior government officials, representatives of the Independent Information Commission, civil society organizations, the media, women and youth groups, community leaders, and development partners. Ambassador Deprez noted that the dialogue builds on significant progress already achieved honoring the European Union-funded Liberia Media Development Project.
To support really the enabling environment for the promotion of freedom of information, of opinion, of expression, and access to information. And to highlight some of the key achievements. So before today, the project has already facilitated 3 stakeholder dialogues across Buchanan, Ganta, and Monrovia, engaging about 250 stakeholders from government, civil society, media, women's group, youth, and community organizations. And we strongly think that those dialogues have already strengthened understanding of freedom of information provisions, also promoted decentralized access to information in rural counties, and we value the high-level participation, including local government leaders, policymakers, legal experts, integrity institutions, and ECOWAS representation. It really shows the broad political relevance. We also value very much the collaboration between civil society and the Independent Information Commission. We also think that this collaboration between government institutions and civil society has also increased awareness on freedom of information.
She's EU Ambassador to Liberia, Northern Deprez. Earlier, you listened to Malcolm Joseph, Liberia Executive Director for the Center of Media Studies and Peace Building. They're speaking. The political leader of the Liberian National Union, LINUM, Dr. Clarence Monuba, has outlined the true test of government's performance lies not in speeches, but in national budget. Responding to President Joseph Boakar's State of the Nation address, Dr. Monuba argued that while the speech sounded positive, the 2026 budget fails to reflect real progress for ordinary Liberians. He questioned claims of 70,000 jobs, noting that it lacks transparency and offer no path to permanent employment. Here now is Clarence Monuba.
Liberian, the State of the Nation address will always sound good because it is someone grading themselves. But the real grade should be found in the 2026 budget. And that is where our government is failing. Budgets are moral documents. They reveal who a government truly serves. Not in speeches, but in priorities. SONA tells us what the government claims it did. The budget tells us what government actually believes in. The State of the Nation address is meant to report progress, but progress cannot be measured in speeches alone. It is measured in budgets, in action, and in lived realities of the ordinary Liberian. The government claims to have created nearly 70,000 short to medium term jobs, but without proof, transparency, or a clear path to permanent employment. This claim rings hollow, as most of the jobs being reported were created by government for government, not by a thriving private sector. That is a recipe for disaster. Even if inflation may look lower on paper, Liberians do not eat statistics. They buy food, pay rent, and pay transportation costs. And life remains expensive, even if farmers receive some support. In some schools, receive computer labs. Mechanized farming, storage, and processing remain largely absent. And with over 2,000 schools across Liberia, 156 computer labs is not transformation, it's tokenism. Fellow Liberians, as much as the SONA is important, what matters far more is the budget, the perks we give to officials, the bloated government system we maintain, the weakness of the private sector, and even the contradictions issued after the speech.
He's the political leader of the Liberian National Union, Lino, Dr. Clarence Monuba. They're speaking. Finance and Development Planning Minister Augustine Gaffan has blasted Liberians for criticizing the government's performance, and President Boakai's announced improvement of the Liberian economy during his third State of the Nation address. During a media engagement in Monrovia recently, Minister Gaffan, who bragged of the government's 1.2 billion national budget for 2026, ridiculously said, "Should we buy physical bread and butter and share it with citizens before you are convinced that the government is addressing bread and butter issues?" In a more provoking remarks, the finance minister further noted that one of his considerations of this year will be to ask the president to create a ministry of bread and butter to directly purchase bread and butter for citizens on a daily basis. Here now is Finance Minister Augustine Gaffan.
I don't want to be doing this thing. So until we buy bread, physical loaves of bread, and then butter, then we establish a ministry of bread and butter, then we're having a bread and butter issue. One of the consideration I would get the president. Should we establish a ministry of bread and butter? Who's expenditure? What happens? Profit. And when you get profit, when you start thinking about expansion, and when you're spending, when you start thinking about hiring people, you will not see the link. And the people you hire, what they will do, you will pay them. And when you pay them, what will they do? They'll buy bread and butter. They'll buy bread and butter. So the bread and butter thing, we start with the structural constraints to growth. Maybe they want too big. Talk about structural. They call it problem. Structural binding constraints to growth. If we don't address all the main problems that are hindering growth in this country, all the things we're doing will be scratching on the surface. If we want big companies to come and operate profitably, we have to solve the power question. And that's what we're doing. So there will be all this what I call short-termism and argument here and there, but you journalists should look beyond. So, coming back to the issue, in 2 years, to that the president said short and medium term, in 2 years, I get one of my assistant ministers here, he knows how to attack problems. And he said something yesterday that was very good. He said, for people to understand this, he asked a question, he said, you know what? When they tell you that you can eat elephant, you say, no, I can't eat elephant too big. But everyone can eat elephant, you only eat to pieces over time, you eat the elephant, right? I'm very sorry about I'm borrowing from your concept. Think about it, 2 years, divide.
His finance minister, Augustine Gaffan, there blasting Liberians for criticizing the government performance, and President Boakai's announced improvement of the Liberian economy during his State of the Nation address. Off the home front now, sustained heavy gunfire and loud explosions have been heard in Niger near the international airport outside the capital, Niamey. Multiple eyewitness accounts and videos show air defense systems apparently engaging unidentified projectiles in the early hours of Thursday. The situation later calmed down, reports say, with an official reportedly saying the situation was now under control without elaborating. It is not clear what caused the blast or if there were any casualties. There has been no official statement from the military government. And passenger flights between Ethiopia's capital, Addis Ababa, and cities in the northern Tigray region have been cancelled amid fears of a return to conflict, with reports of clashes in one area. Ethiopia's airline, which operates all routes in the country, sent passengers a text message about the cancellation, citing unplanned circumstances. Neither the airline nor the government has commented further. Airport staff in Tigray's main city of Mekelle have reportedly been told not to go to work. A 2022 peace deal to end a brutal civil war in Tigray has been unraveling as tensions grow over disputed territory and ahead of June's elections. To end this news, here once again our top stories. ArcelorMittal Liberia's Tier Mineral Development Agreement amendment ratified. Liberian Senate concurs with House of Representatives this after President Joseph Boakai opened appeal. More public condemnations mount over Tiers State of the Nation address across Liberia as Broom County Senator Edwin Snow calls for comprehensive breakdown of government's 70,000 job creation, writes Senate to sack Labor Minister Cooper Crab. Government of Liberia breaks ground for the construction of the Ministry of Justice complex of Capitol Hill. Justice Minister Oswald Twe says $20 million United States dollars already secured for the project, but Margibi County Senator Nathaniel McGill demands accountability and question the source of funding. Across the border, sustained heavy gunfire and loud explosions have been held in Niger near the international airport outside the capital, Niamey, and passenger flights between Ethiopia's capital, Addis Ababa, and cities in the northern Tigray region have been cancelled amid fears of a return to conflict, with reports of clashes in one area. Many thanks to all of our contributors, editors, and reporters who help in making this edition of King's Newsroom a success. For more news and information, do join us at 1 p.m. this afternoon, or better still, at 6 p.m. for a fresh edition of the program. Thanks to Kwame Brown, who brought us our news bulletin. On behalf of the entire team, my name is Cornelius Johnson. I presented. Thanks for listening and watching. Good morning.